Picture this. You're watching old car ads from the late 80s and 90s, and there it is, that bold Mercedes-Benz badge, shining like a symbol of power and prestige. Back then, these cars were reserved for CEOs, world leaders, and celebrities. And today, decades later, they're still out there on the roads, looking timeless and driving with the same confidence they had when new. Now, what if I told you there are classic Mercedes models so well built, so over-engineered, that they don't just survive the test of time, they actually dominate it? Cars that can sit in a garage for years, fire up like nothing happened, and still deliver the kind of luxury and presence modern cars struggle to match. In today's video, we're diving into three of those legends: the W126 S-Class, the SL R129 Roadster, and the unstoppable G-Class W463. And trust me, when we get to number three, you'll understand why this boxy icon became one of the most respected cars on the planet. Mercedes-Benz W126 S-Class, 1979 to 1991. When people talk about the golden era of Mercedes-Benz, one car always stands out: the W126 S-Class. Built between 1979 and 1991, this wasn't just a luxury sedan, it was the definition of prestige and success in the 80s. If you pulled up in a W126, people instantly knew you were someone important. And decades later, this car is still considered one of the most reliable and well-built Mercedes sedans ever made. Now here's the thing. Mercedes didn't build the W126 just to impress. They built it to last. At a time when most luxury cars were fragile and temperamental, the W126 combined elegance with bulletproof engineering. It became the car of choice for presidents, CEOs, diplomats, and even celebrities. This wasn't just transportation. It was a statement of power and timeless class. Under the hood, the W126 gave buyers plenty of choice. But the real legends were the 280 SE and 300 SE straight-six engines for reliability and the 500 SEL V8 for performance. The straight-six engines were smooth, durable, and could easily cross 500,000 kilometers with regular maintenance. And the 5.0-liter V8 in the 500 SEL delivered around 240 horsepower and 400 newton-meters of torque. Effortless power for such a big sedan. Whether petrol or diesel, the engines were built like tanks, capable of running for decades. And let's not forget the diesel variants. The W126 diesels, especially in export markets, became legends for their longevity. There are stories of these cars running past 1 million kilometers, still starting up every morning without complaint. That's the kind of over-engineering Mercedes was known for in that era. But the W126 wasn't just about engines. It was about presence. Park one next to any modern luxury car, and you'll see how timeless the design is. Clean lines, perfect proportions, and that unmistakable Mercedes grille. It looked elegant without being flashy. It looked powerful without being aggressive. It was the perfect balance of sophistication and authority. Inside, the story was the same. The cabin was built with real wood, real leather, and switchgear that felt solid enough to last forever. Sit in one today and you'll notice how everything still works. The seats are firm but comfortable, the buttons have that classic Mercedes click, and the overall vibe is pure old-school luxury. No unnecessary gimmicks, just honest craftsmanship designed to stand the test of time. Safety was another area where the W126 set new standards. Mercedes engineered this car with advanced crumple zones, anti-lock brakes, and even airbags. Features that were ahead of their time in the 80s. This made the W126 not only a luxury sedan, but also one of the safest cars on the road back then. That's why so many governments and embassies around the world chose it as their official car. Now let's talk reliability. Ask any mechanic who's worked on one, and they'll tell you the W126 is almost indestructible. Routine maintenance like oil changes, filters, and fluids keep it running strong. But the major components, the engine, gearbox, suspension, are built to go the distance. Unlike modern cars, there's no overcomplicated electronics to fail. It's mechanical, straightforward, and engineered with longevity in mind. How far can it go? Well, documented cases show W126s running comfortably past 500,000 to 1 million kilometers with their original engines and transmissions. That's why it's called a legend. You simply can't kill one, unless you completely neglect it. And here's the best part. Owning a W126 today doesn't feel like driving an old car. It feels like driving a piece of history. The road presence is unmatched. People still turn their heads when they see that big, elegant sedan glide by. It doesn't shout for attention, it commands respect in silence. The W126 is also surprisingly affordable to own compared to its German rivals of the same era. While old BMWs and Jaguars from the 80s are notorious for expensive problems, the Mercedes W126 remains relatively easy to maintain. Parts are still available, mechanics still know how to work on them, and the car's design makes servicing straightforward. This is why the W126 has such a strong fan base even today. Enthusiasts love restoring them, collectors love preserving them, and everyday drivers still enjoy the comfort and reliability that Mercedes engineered more than 40 years ago. So when we talk about cars that were built to last forever, the W126 S-Class deserves a top spot on the list. It's not just another old Mercedes. It's a rolling reminder of a time when luxury meant durability, engineering, and timeless style. Even after 4 decades, the W126 hasn't lost its charm. It still looks classy, it still drives smooth, and it still represents the pinnacle of Mercedes-Benz engineering. Truly a car that defines the phrase, "They don't make them like this anymore." Mercedes-Benz SL R129, 1989 to 2001. Imagine this for a second. You're cruising down the highway with the roof down, the sun setting behind you, and people turning their heads wondering if that's a brand new Mercedes or some kind of hidden gem. But here's the shocker. It's not new at all. It's a 30-year-old Mercedes-Benz SL R129, a car that redefined luxury roadsters when it launched in 1989. And the craziest part? Even today, it drives with the same confidence and class that made it a legend. The R129 wasn't just another convertible. This was the car that took Mercedes' engineering obsession to a new level. Designed by Bruno Sacco, the R129 had sharp, timeless lines and a stance that still looks modern. Park it next to any 2000s or even 2010s car, and people won't believe this thing was born in the late 80s. That's how far ahead of its time it was. But let's talk about the heart of this machine, the engines. Buyers had plenty of options, but 3 stand out. The SL 306, silky smooth and bulletproof reliable, was the entry point. Then came the SL 500 with its 5.0-liter V8, delivering around 320 horsepower and roughly 470 newton-meters of torque, enough to launch you down the Autobahn without breaking a sweat. And for those who wanted pure insanity, the SL 600 with its 6.0-liter V12. We're talking 389 horsepower and a mountain of torque, all delivered with whisper-quiet smoothness. That V12 was the ultimate flex, a car that could hit 250 kilometers per hour effortlessly while feeling like you were sitting in your living room. What really made the R129 legendary wasn't just power, it was the technology. Mercedes packed this car with features the competition hadn't even dreamed of yet. Automatic roll bar that popped up in a split second during a crash. First in the world. Electronic stability systems. Adaptive damping suspension. Power everything. Even the roof mechanism was so advanced, it felt like a magic trick in the 90s. Push a button, and the hardtop lifted off like it was choreographed by German engineers obsessed with perfection. Inside, the R129 was pure Mercedes luxury, thick leather, real wood trim, seats that still feel supportive decades later, and build quality that makes modern cars look disposable. Owners often say the interior doesn't squeak, doesn't rattle, and doesn't wear down, because Mercedes built it like they expected these cars to last a lifetime. And that's the part most people don't realize. The R129 is shockingly reliable. Sure, the V12S can be expensive to maintain if neglected, but the 6-cylinder and V8 models are nearly indestructible with proper care. Regular oil changes, routine servicing, and these cars will happily cross 400,000 kilometers without major drama. Compare that to other luxury roadsters of the 90s, BMW, Jaguar, even Porsche, And the R129 stands out as the one that actually survives. Think about it. A car that looks this good, performs this well, and comes loaded with innovations that still feel modern today. That's why the R129 is more than just a classic Mercedes. It's one of the best long-term investments in the car world. Values are already climbing, and enthusiasts know it's only a matter of time before prices skyrocket. The SL R129 is living proof that Mercedes in the late 80s and 90s didn't build cars for planned obsolescence. They built them to last. They didn't cut corners. They didn't skimp on materials. Every nut and bolt was engineered for decades of service. And when you drive one today, you don't just feel like you're driving a car. You feel like you're driving an era of Mercedes where perfection was the only goal. So next time you see an SLR 129 on the road, know this. It's not just another old Mercedes convertible. It's a masterpiece, a symbol of what happens when engineers are given unlimited budgets and a single mission. Build the best roadster in the world. And they did. Mercedes-Benz G-Class W463 1990s. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. A boxy, tank-like machine rolling down the street. It's not sleek, it's not curvy, but everywhere it goes, people turn their heads. Some whisper, celebrity car. Others think, military beast. But only true enthusiasts know. This is the Mercedes-Benz G-Class W463, a car born in the battlefield, yet refined enough to sit outside five-star hotels. And the crazy part? The models from the 1990s still look and drive like they're ready for another 30 years of service. The G-Class didn't start out as a luxury SUV. Its origins go back to the late 1970s, when Mercedes built it as a military vehicle. Rugged, simple, indestructible. But by the time the W463 generation rolled out in 1990, Mercedes had transformed this warrior into something unique. The perfect mix of unstoppable off-road capability and unmatched German luxury. That's why even the 1990s G-Wagon still has a cult following today. At first glance, the design hasn't changed much in 40 years, and that's the beauty of it. The sharp edges, upright windshield, exposed hinges, and flat panels scream utility. Yet somehow it became a fashion icon. You could see it climbing mountains one day and parked in front of a mansion the next. No other SUV in history managed to balance ruggedness and status symbols so perfectly. Now under the hood, the W463 of the 1990s came with a range of engines. The most popular was the G320, running a straight-six petrol engine with around 210 horsepower and 300 Newton-meters of torque. Smooth, durable, and enough to keep this heavy beast moving. For those who wanted bulletproof reliability and long-distance capability, there was the diesel option, like the G300D. Sure, it wasn't fast, but it would outlast an apocalypse. Some are still running strong after 500,000 kilometers with nothing more than regular maintenance. And then there was the king, the G500Y8, pumping out about 240 horsepower and nearly 400 Newton-meters of torque. This was the version that showed the world the G-Class wasn't just a military relic. It was luxury power on wheels. But here's where the G-Wagon truly separates itself. Its off-road system. 3 locking differentials, not 1, not 2, 3. Add permanent all-wheel drive, body-on-frame construction, and ground clearance that laughs at obstacles. And you get an SUV that can climb rocks, wade through rivers, and survive conditions that would destroy normal cars. People joke that the G-Wagon doesn't drive over terrain. It dominates it. Step inside, though, and you're reminded this isn't just about mud and mountains. The W463 from the 1990s had full leather interiors, wood trim, power windows, heated seats. Luxury touches that felt worlds apart from its military roots. It was like Mercedes said, sure, we'll give you a tank, but we'll make it comfortable enough to wear a suit in. That's why celebrities, business tycoons, and even royalty started buying them in the 90s. It wasn't just transportation, it was a statement. Now let's talk about reliability. The G-Class was built like no other SUV of its time. Heavy steel frame, over-engineered components, and engines designed to last forever. Yes, maintenance can be costly if you neglect it, especially the V8s. But a well-kept 1990s G-Wagon will keep going long after newer SUVs have retired to the junkyard. The diesels especially are considered unkillable. These things were tested in deserts, mountains, and frozen roads, and passed every challenge with ease. Think about it. A car designed for soldiers, refined for the world's elite, and still relevant 30 years later. The W463 is more than a vehicle. It's a cultural icon. It's the reason modern G-Wagons still look nearly identical. Mercedes knew they had created perfection, and they never dared to change the formula. Owning a 1990s G-Class today means more than just driving a classic SUV. It means being part of history. It means sitting in a machine that blends raw strength with timeless style. And it means driving something so overbuilt, you'll likely pass it on to your kids, and maybe even they'll pass it on to theirs. So the next time you see an old G-Wagon, don't mistake it for just another boxy truck. Remember, it's a legend. A car born from war, raised in luxury, and destined to remain an icon forever.